Since the U.S. Constitution was conceived and made the law of this land, its supporters have been under attack from those abroad and at home who are threatened by the fruits of equality among men. Thomas Jefferson, one of the main authors of the Constitution, classified public debt as the greatest danger to be feared. For some time now, our leaders have been exposing us to this greatest danger to be feared. 9/11 was a call for help, not a threat to the American way of life, but a response to corporate America's way of death of the little person, at home and abroad.
Ugly thing happened that senior leader complained about.
The allegations he made actually took place, according to Ford, in Samarra, Iraq, which is approximately 100 kilometers north of Baghdad.
And what does he say happened?
He said that over approximately 2 to 3 week period of time in late May to, I think, mid-June of 2003, he observed fellow teammates on his intelligence gathering team physically abused Iraqi detainees that were in their custody. He witnessed, according to Ford, mock executions, limbs being pulled from their sockets, and even at least one occasion, he said, lit cigarettes being forced into the ears of a young male Iraqi who was bound and blindfolded.
And how many people were victimized, and how many people might have been involved in inflicting this torture?
Well, he had 3 teammates in addition to himself, so there were 4 intelligence operatives on his team that he really is making allegations about, and to the best of my knowledge, he's talking in the neighborhood of, just on these incidents, probably 8 to 10 Iraqis.
Did he tell you why it was at this particular time?
Well, this was really from the beginning of the period of time that he was assigned to the team. He claimed that from the outset, these types of tortures or physical abuses occurred.
Okay, so then what happened? He complained to a superior officer.
He did. After he tried to get these things to stop with the teammates, he eventually tried to report it to his superior officer, and when he did that, Ford says that the officer gave him about 30 seconds to retract his statement, and he'd forget about it. And Ford refused, so he was immediately placed on a 24-hour watch by another senior non-commissioned officer in the unit. His weapon was seized, his ammunition was seized, and he was made to undergo what is known as combat stress counseling with an Army psychiatrist. Unfortunately, the initial report from the Army psychiatrist came back stating that Ford was absolutely sane, and that as far as the psychiatrist could tell, there was no mental health issues at all.
Where was the psychiatrist? Was he there?
This was in Iraq. This was on Camp Anaconda in Iraq, just outside of Balad, Iraq.
And have you seen the psychiatrist's report?
I have.
Or is this just yet?
No, I have actually seen the report, yes.
So then what happened?
Well, the commanding officer that Ford reported to demanded this psychiatric evaluation. Apparently, according to Ford and another senior non-commissioned officer who witnessed the exchange, Captain Artiga, the commanding officer, stormed back into the psychiatrist's office and demanded that she change her diagnosis to reflect that Ford was mentally unstable and that she had hours, essentially, to get him out of the country and shipped off to a mental health facility, that this was a matter of military intelligence, and he, according to the witness, intimidated her to do that.
So this was the Army's response to charges that prisoners were being tortured?
In this particular case, apparently so.
You're out of here.
Yeah, I mean, and from what I can see, and I didn't learn about this until after a year, almost a year since I returned from Iraq, it's very similar to the things that I used to read about all the time in the old Soviet Union.
Did you experience anything like this in Iraq? You were also in intelligence.
Correct. No, I never did. I certainly never saw it on my team, and I, to be honest, never saw it. Although there was always rumors that there were, things happening like that, I never saw any evidence of it in my particular case, not until I came back. Abu Ghraib, I hit the media, and then I, of course, talked to Sergeant Ford.
Where were you stationed?
I was stationed in the same general area. I was on the base Camp Anaconda for the entire time.
You say there were always rumors?
There was rumors by Iraqis, meaning they were not rumors. There were reports from Iraqis and rumors from other soldiers that these kinds of things were happening in other areas in Iraq. But like I said, I never witnessed any myself.
Do you think anyone was investigating from the outset?
Well, at the time I didn't know. Now that I've investigated this, I have to say no. For the most part, it seems as if these have gone uninvestigated for a year and a half or more.
What happened to Sergeant Ford after he was medevac back out?
He spent the next approximately 8 months in at least three Army mental facilities, both in Germany and in the United States, until he was finally honorably discharged and retired from the Army in February of this year.
How stressful was the situation that they were in Samara?
Oh, it was very stressful in terms of, well, both sides, obviously, but to the Americans, it was, they were constantly under attack. It was a very hostile environment. This particular group where Ford was stationed was in an old Iraqi police station, which was located in the center of the city of Samarra, and was unfortunately one of the lower structures, so the insurgents were all around them on higher ground, and they would shell them every night.
So it wouldn't be surprising if somebody suffered stress.
Oh, absolutely not. And again, being the intelligence unit, the information gathering unit, they were under extreme pressure to develop information to find out who these people were that were shooting at them, to get the bad guys. So it's not surprising at all that they used extraordinary or even illegal measures to try to do that.
But I mean, you don't think that this was the case, that Sergeant Ford did have a breakdown? You don't doubt his story?
Well, I don't doubt it, only because, and again, I didn't see it, but I knew Ford at the time for about 3 months at that time. So we always considered him to be level-headed, and since that time, I've reviewed over 30 years of his military and civilian record, and I have absolutely no evidence at all that he's ever had any mental health issues, and to the contrary, through his record, he seems to be an exemplary military soldier and sailor. He was in the Navy prior to this, with many, many awards, and for his entire civilian career has been a corrections officer at Folsom Prison in California, so if anyone knew what prison abuse or detainee abuse would look like, he'd be it.
How did you hear about the story?
So after Abu Ghraib broke last spring, a fellow soldier that had been in the unit with me called me and said, "Did you hear about Ford or what's going on?" And I hadn't heard about Ford for over a year. So he put me in touch with Ford. I had lost track with him since Iraq. And when I called him, he told me what had happened to him since he left Iraq, and I was stunned. And after we talked for a while, I decided to do some more inquiry and to write a piece on it, and I've been tracking it ever since.
So you went to see him?
I went to see him, yeah. I went to see him, and I also then conducted some other interviews, and like I said, poured over a lot of documents for the story.
Now, have you gone to the authorities with your story, or is this how you're getting it out?
This is how I'm getting it out. Right now, I'm a reporter. I'm a writer, and so this is what I do. I've written a number of other pieces, so I'm trying to get the story out, and hopefully by the media attention, by this story, by what you're doing, that the Pentagon, in this case, will follow through and do something, because if you read the story, essentially nothing's been done on this for over a year and a half.
Have you heard in your researches of other situations like this?
Since then, I have. There's been at least two other cases. One specifically with an Army officer who was a veteran of the first Persian Gulf War, was locked up in a mental ward in the United States earlier this year after complaining about wrongdoing in the Army. He is still locked up. I believe it's at Fort Campbell.
Locked up?
He's literally on a locked ward. And now, because of his complaint and his attitude, in quotes, he's made the court-martialed to boot, and as well as being branded insane. There's another soldier who was one of the original whistleblowers at Abu Ghraib, Sergeant Provence, who I've spoken with, who, because after he cooperated with Major General Taguba in his infamous report on Abu Ghraib, was threatened with court-martial because he didn't report it soon enough. And he's been stripped of his security clearance and has been forced to work in a supply room awaiting possible court-martial charges. And there's some others that I'm trying to verify right now. One of the doctors in the Ford case told me, or actually told Spiegel TV in Germany, that he's treated 3 or 4 other soldiers who have been locked up in mental wards in Germany because they've reported prisoner abuse in Iraq.
What do you make of all this, Mr. DeBarros?
Boy, I make of it that it's frightening. What I've been able to find out is that there's apparently, at least on some level within the Army leadership, an intentional desire to not only cover up the many incidents of detainee and prisoner abuse, but to obviously retaliate against the messenger and to use only what I could describe as Soviet-style tactics against them.
So persecuting the messengers.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for talking to us today.
My pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
To persecuting the messengers.
Absolutely.
Dave DeBatto is a former U.S. Army counterintelligence soldier and a journalist. He's in Haverhill, Massachusetts.
How prevalent in our society is this practice of branding the one with the truth insane? We suffer greatest from a deficit of the truth. The police, the temple guards, have the populace living in fear of them rather than fear of God. People have again become afraid to look through Galileo's telescope, and learn the truth about their government leaders. The Constitution was written to prevent this, and would if it was enforced. If you're not missing America, its freedoms, its justice, its equality, you should be. May 12, 2009.